Tammy Tracey was 19 years old when she disappeared from a park in Rockford, Illinois, back in May of 1987. 11 months later, Tammy's remains were found 16 miles north of where she originally disappeared. She had been shot and stabbed to death. It took 33 years, but on November 19th, 2020, authorities arrested a suspect for the murder of Tammy Tracey. Hi guys, I'm Brooke and welcome to Murder in the Midwest. I discuss mainly unsolved homicides that have occurred in small Midwestern communities. Today's case is a bit of an exception because an arrest has just been made for the murder of Tammy Tracey. We'll get to all that in a minute. But first, as always, if you like what you see, please hit the subscribe button. There's also a bell notification below. If you hit that, then you will be notified of when I post new videos, which is every Wednesday. I also have an Instagram that you can follow, which is Murder in the Midwest, and a Twitter, which is just Murder Midwest. Okay, guys, let's get right into the disappearance and murder of Tammy Tracey. I'm actually very surprised that I hadn't heard about this case prior to about 2 weeks ago when an arrest was finally made in her murder. So I'm kind of working backwards from this. So I don't live that far from Rockford, Illinois, and this has been an unsolved homicide for the past 33 years. So I'm very, very surprised that it hasn't showed up. I'm always Googling unsolved homicides in the Midwest, specifically Illinois, where I'm from. So again, just very surprised that I'd not heard of this prior to an arrest being made in this case. Tammy Tracey was your typical 19-year-old. She was living with her mother in Rockford, Illinois. She had recently graduated from Auburn High School, which is in Rockford, and at the time of her death, she was working as a dental assistant. Her family and friends said that Tammy really loved golf. She loved to play softball. She knew how to play the guitar. She had a boyfriend at the time, a lot of friends around the area, which makes her death just that much more shocking. So what happened was on May 27th, 1987, Tammy decided to take her car to Searls Park, which is located in Rockford, to wax it. And this was something that apparently Tammy did on a very regular basis. Her mother said typically on her days off, she'd take her car to the park, wax it, enjoy the sunshine. It was a beautiful day that day. She'd actually asked her boyfriend at the time to come with her to the park, but he was going to play basketball with some friends. So Tammy went to the park alone. That would be the last time that any of Tammy's family or friends would see or hear from her again. Tammy at the time was driving a black 1979 Oldsmobile. So this is a pretty big, significant car. I'll put up a picture of it. Tammy's mother, Linda, realized the next morning when she got up and started getting ready for work that Tammy had never come home. And that was not like Tammy. If she was going to spend the night or if she was going to be late, she always called her mother to let her know that. So Linda was immediately worried and, tried to contact her boyfriend, some friends, just to see if they'd heard from Tammy. Nobody had. So Linda actually drove to Searls Park to see if she could find Tammy's car, which she did right away. So she locates Tammy's Oldsmobile and the doors are locked, windows are up. There's no apparent signs of a struggle or anything unusual other than the fact that there's absolutely no signs of Tammy. So at this point, Linda decides to file a missing persons report, and authorities were really on it. They immediately began a very extensive search for Tammy. So they were doing a ground search with dogs. They also had helicopters in the sky, just looking for any traces that they could, any clues to help them locate Tammy. Unfortunately, they couldn't find anything. And it would be 11 months later, on April 15th of 1988, when her remains were found. So I'll put up a map of where she was actually located at. A bird watcher was watching birds in the Sugar River Forest Preserve, which is in Durand, Illinois, about 16 miles straight north of where Searls Park was. They discover human remains. They call authorities. Authorities said when they arrived, the remains were so badly decomposed, they weren't even sure if it was male or female. But they did dental record testing and they were able to confirm that these were in fact the remains of Tammy Tracey. Also, they found that Tammy had been shot and stabbed to death. So now we're working with a homicide. And Tammy's mother at the time, Linda, obviously is devastated. Her family's devastated. Tammy also had a brother. everybody's trying to figure out, like, who would have wanted to do this to Tammy? She didn't have any immediate enemies. Nobody could figure out what a motive would be. But Linda was really confident that there would be an arrest made shortly for Tammy's murder. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. What's interesting about this particular case is authorities stated that they had a suspect in mind and they 100% knew who committed this crime for the past few decades. It was just a case of being able to get that evidence and that one remaining piece of DNA technology to be able to make an arrest. So I'll read you a quote. This is actually from an online story from the Rockford Register-Star that they published in May of 2018. Authorities and Linda, Tammy's mother, said they knew who killed Tammy, but they needed someone to come forward to help gather enough evidence to be able to charge him. They said that they had the same suspect in mind for decades, but even with advances in technology and DNA testing, authorities say they didn't yet have enough evidence to link him to the crime, and they needed help to catch this killer. So authorities, without ever releasing a name of the suspect, they gave kind of a composite of who they believed was responsible for Tammy's murder. So they said that it was an older man, somebody that knew Tammy and knew her family. It wasn't somebody who had gone to school with Tammy, though. And that was really it. So we just knew it was somebody older, somebody that was familiar with Tammy, was living in the Rockford area at the time. To me, that's kind of a bold move from the authorities, and I do appreciate that they stated, we know who it is, and basically we're coming for you. Because in a lot of these cases, especially cold cases or homicides that may be actively investigative, but you know, it's been 10, 20, 30 years since they originally happened, as recently as May of 2020, a reporter for a local Rockford news station, her name is Kristen Crowley, she actually did a special on Tammy Tracey. So I will link that video and that news article below. You know, it aired on their news station, but it's also available on YouTube as well. And she talked to authorities. Again, the authorities said they 100% knew who committed this crime. They just didn't have that key piece of evidence yet to be able to make an arrest. Also in May of 2020, Tammy's brother and his wife decided to purchase and put up 2 billboards in Rockford at 2 busy intersections. I will put up a picture of those billboards. Really what they wanted to accomplish by doing that was to, one, keep this in the public's attention and keep it front of mind, but hopefully, you know, they were hoping that somebody would come forward that knew more, you know, that would have that key piece of information so that they could make an arrest. I have to wonder if that news expose and also the billboards that were put up, if they helped to contribute to the arrest. So now we're getting into November of 2020. And on November 19th, a man named Jesse Smith was arrested in Albany, Georgia for the murder of Tammy Tracey. Now, there's not a lot of details surrounding Jesse. So we know that he's 64 years old now, which means back in 1987, he would have been 31 years old. All that I've really seen is that authorities said he was familiar with Tracey's family. So we don't know yet, at least publicly, how exactly he knew that family, but he was living in Rockford at the time of Tracey's murder. Jesse listed his residence as Mississippi, so I'm not sure why he was in Georgia at the time of the arrest, but as of right now, he is being held on a $5 million bond. He will be extradited back to Winnebago County, Illinois, to appear in court. I will definitely give updates as more about this is known. At the time of this filming, he hasn't been extradited back yet, so I'm interested to see how he pleads. Right now, we don't know if he's going to plead guilty, not guilty. Of course, if he pleads not guilty, I do have to say everybody's presumed innocence until found guilty by a jury of their peers. So just very interested to see how this case unfolds. I'm especially happy, though, for Linda. And I'm kind of paraphrasing from a few different articles that I've read that Linda has given, but she's basically said, I want to find who did this before I die. She's like, I want to track this man down. I want to know why he did this, and I want to see him brought to justice. So I can only imagine how happy and relieved she is right now that an arrest has been made. Of course, it does not bring her daughter back by any means. And in fact, Linda says she still cries every day for Tammy, but at least it's a little bit of justice. I would love to hear from anybody that is familiar with this case. If you know the Tammy Tracey family, if you're from the Rockford area, please comment below. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.